Lavrada, and today we want to talk about fun with rhythms on page 38 in the book Americana Strings. By the end of this lesson, we want our students to be able to play the D major scale with different rhythms. The quarter note rhythm, eighth note rhythm, shuffle rhythms, and what I like to refer to as hiccup rhythms, or of course, dotted rhythms. Before we do this, I want to review how to count and play the eighth notes. We learned how to play eighth notes in groups of 2. We learned how to play eighth notes in groups of 4. And then we learned how to play eighth notes individually by themselves. Okay? Now, the first group of eighth notes in groups of 2 we learned in the song Face Off on page 20. This is where we learned how to play eighth notes in groups of 2. And while we were playing those eighth notes in groups of 2, we discovered that eighth notes sound like they're in a hurry, that they almost sound faster. And we discovered that eighth notes are always in a hurry to try to cram 2 sounds into 1 beat, and that each eighth note is counted with a number and a syllable and. Okay. So this eighth note is counted with the number 1. This eighth note is counted with the syllable and. Now I know that the and looks like a plus sign, but in music when we're counting rhythms, we don't refer to it as a plus sign. We count it with the syllable and. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and like that. Now, because they're in a hurry to cram 2 sounds into 1 beat, this 1 is a half a beat, and the and is another half a beat. So when we add a half and a half together, we have 1 complete whole. And in music, that 1 complete whole beat is a quarter note. So you could see the 1 is an eighth note, this and is another eighth note. So each quarter note is made with 2 eighth notes. 1 and belongs to that quarter note, 2 and belongs to that quarter note, 3 and belongs to that quarter note, 4 and belongs to that quarter note. Then we learned how to count rhythm, eighth notes in groups of 4. We learned that in the song Old MacDonald, and you'll see here we have here a bow, there a bow, everywhere a. So each of the eighth notes gets either a number or the syllable and. So we have 1 here for that eighth note, then and, followed by and, then 2, and then followed by another and. And then, of course, each of these symbols is half of a count. So we have a half there, a half there, a half here, and a half there. So these two eighth notes add up to 1 beat, and these 2 eighth notes add up to 1 beat. Then we learned how to count eighth notes all by themselves. We learned that an eighth note by itself can either get a number or an and, either one, okay? And of course, it only gets half of a count. So we learned how to count an eighth note by itself on page 27 in the song First Step. So we have 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and, okay? Rotten bananas. Now I go into more detail with counting the eighth note by itself. You could search on YouTube Americana Strings and then look for the video that says First Step, okay? And I go into more detail with that. Okay. So now let's try to play the D major scale with a quarter notes. But before we do, we want to look at the time signature. The top number 4 says there's going to be 4 beats in a measure. The bottom number, okay, so and these dots are beats. All right. And then the bottom number 4 says that each beat is a quarter note. And we count it like this: 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. These 2 dots means that we're going to repeat this over and over and over until we go from low D to high D back down to low D. Okay, so here's how the quarter note rhythm pattern sounds with playing the D major scale. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and... Okay, so that is the D major scale with quarter notes. Now we're going to play the D major scale with eighth notes. So we're gonna repeat each note twice. So it's gonna be D, D, E, E, F sharp, G, G, A, B, B, C sharp, D, D, and then C sharp, B. Go backwards, okay? So these two dots and these two dots mean that we're gonna repeat this measure over and over till we go from low D to high D back down to low D. Now remember, these dots are the beat note. These are all the quarter notes. 1, 2, keep the beat with your toe or with your heel. Now, while you're keeping the beat, you're going to say the rhythm numbers. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. Now, for reinforcement, you could use the stick here, and you could go count 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. Or you could do a reverse bow hold, slide the stick over your shoulder. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1. And then you can apply that to your instrument. So, as a matter of fact, you'll see that I'm using the Comfort Curve Original. And I like to put it on an angle for me. And it feels more comfortable. Okay, so here we go. Here is the eighth notes. Ready? D scale going from low D to high D back down to low D. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. Okay, so now we're going to talk about playing the D scale with a shuffle rhythm pattern. Shuffle rhythm goes like this: long, short, short, long, short, short. Now, what note is the long note? It's the quarter note. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. I like to think of the shuffle rhythm. Reminds me of back in my dancing days. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. Okay. So now each note of the D major scale is played 3 times. D, 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 E, 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 F sharp, F sharp, F sharp, G, so on and so forth. And you could reinforce that with your sticks. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. Or you could, of course, do it with the side of your stick, your bow stick. And there's a silly rhythm word that you could use: grasshopper, grasshopper, grass. Grasshopper, grasshopper, grasshopper. But we don't need to say that silly rhythm word. We could count it like professional musicians. Okay, so here we go. Low D to high D, back down to low D. Ready? 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 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 1. Okay, so that was the D major scale playing the shuffle rhythms. Now, we want to learn how to play the D major scale with dotted rhythms. Now, before we talk about the dotted quarter note, let's discover where we first learned a dotted note. Okay? We first learned a dotted note with a half note, and then with a dot after it. We learned the dotted half note waltz. On page 23, we learned how to count the dotted half note in the song, The Dotted Half Waltz. Now, this is such a cool song because we all start together. First year and second year students start together tutti in the beginning. And then when we repeat, the first year students repeat the melody, and the second year students move on and play the harmony, and then together. It sounds so beautiful. Now let's try to discover how we come up with how the dot changes the value of the note. So, all right, the half note by itself is 2 counts, 1 and 2 and, okay? Now, we're going to make a mathematical equation. So the half note is 2 counts, and we're going to add plus. Now, this is actually a plus sign because it's a mathematical equation. So when we add a dot to the half note, the dot says, what's the original value is 2, right? The dot means take half of 2. What's half of 2? 1. Then we add it together. 3. So the dotted half note actually lasts for 3 counts. And we count it like this. 1 and 2 and 3. And so you have to move your bow slowly to make sure that you count 3 counts for that. Okay? So now that's how the dot changes the value of a note. Now let's go ahead and try to figure out the value of a dotted quarter note. So let's sing our quarter note song. Draw an oval and color it in, color it in, color it in. Draw an oval and color it in, and we add a stem for a quarter note. Now let's create a mathematical equation. What is the quarter note? It's 1 count plus. Now, if we add a dot after that, the dot means what's the original value? The original value is 1. What's half of 1? That is a half. So now 1 plus a half is 1.5 counts. Now remember, eighth notes are half of a count. So how many eighth notes are going to be in the dotted quarter note? So we have 1 and 2. So each of these are half. Okay, so we have half count there. That symbol is half a count. This number is another half a count. So each of these numbers and syllables are half counts. Okay? So 1.5. Does that add up to 1.5? Half plus a half is 1, plus a half is 1.5. That's 1.5 right here. So now we don't like just having a note be 1.5. We want 2 complete counts, okay? So now what must we add to 1.5 to make 2 complete counts? Another half. So let's add an and after 2, and that and represents a half. So now we have 1.5 plus a half equals 2 complete counts. Now, what note is a half? What note is a half? It is an eighth note. All right, an eighth note by itself. So this is going to be long, short. So this is going to be short, long, short. And we're going to make this one be a down bow followed by an up bow. So it's going to sound like this. 1 and 2 and 1 and 2 and. So it's almost going to give you the feeling of a hiccup rhythm. So let's go ahead and count this. I like to call it hiccup rhythm. So watch. 1 and 2, 3 and 4, 1 and 2, 3 and 4, and then you repeat it. I love how magically all of the hiccups are on an up bow. So that will really help you. It'll help facilitate playing it correctly. So now I like to start with a little reinforcement first. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and, all right. And actually you could do it with your bow stick. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and, all right. So now each note of the D scale is going to be played twice. A long D followed by a short D, then going into E, short E, F sharp, short F sharp. So let's try playing that hiccup rhythm or the dotted rhythms with the D major scale. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2, 3 and 4, 1 and 2, 3 and 4, and 1 and 2, 3 and 4, 1 and 2, 3 and 4. Okay, that was the hiccup rhythm. Now, where do we find the hiccup rhythms? I tell my students that once you master the hiccup rhythms, you can progress and play a lot more interesting music. So let's look at the first song in Americana Strings that introduces the hiccup rhythm. So we learned it in Jingle Bells. Jingle all the way. So now what I like to do is I like to play just that, only that measure. Make sure you use pinky A, okay? Jingle all the way. And we'll practice that over and over, and I'll walk around the room and try to find a mentor. And that mentor will work with other students and make them a mentor. And then pretty soon, everybody will know how to play, and then we'll do a round robin. So I'll have one student play Jingle All, keep a steady beat, and try to have each student not miss a beat. Just go down round robin all around the room. Try to make my students be ready playing position, so no one misses a beat. So one student, jingle all the way. Next student, ready, go. Jingle all the way. Next student, ready, go. Jingle all the way. Next student, ready, go. All right, so then we come to measure 6, and we've discovered that we have a shuffle rhythm. Is to write in a 1. And so we'll practice that. Is to write in a 1. Is to write in a 1. I'll look for mentors and we'll just do that measure by itself. Okay, and then for our next song, Ode to Joy, we find a hiccup rhythm right here. F sharp, E, E, F sharp, E, E, and we'll do the same thing. All right, and then we learn at Ode to Joy, we have measure 10, we have shuffle rhythms. 1, 2, and 3, 4, 1, 2, and 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. And we'll play that section, that 3 measure section. And then we will have mentors and then train others, and we'll do a round robin with just that section. Once students are able to count rhythms, the rest is so exciting. And it's amazing because not only will your students become great performers, but you'll find them wanting to create music of their own. Give them staff paper and ask them, and you'll be so amazed that they will become musical composers accurately writing notes, different notes on the staff with correct rhythms. And it's exciting. And students will become independent learners, lifelong learners of music. You will love it, they will love it, and you'll be really impressed. And your parents will be so excited. They'll rave about how great their students, how their children are. So anyway, enjoy Americana Strings, and subscribe for more videos. Email me and let me know how wonderful your students are, and perhaps you might want to do a little seminar at your school. Email me, let me know. Okay, enjoy Americana Strings, and take care. Thank you very much.
Purchase the book Americana Strings and practice with play-along music at stringsmusicandmore.com. Also available on Amazon.com. Don't forget to subscribe to view new teaching videos and enjoy Americana Strings.